For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise. And you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Hello, everybody. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in on iTunes and SoundCloud and at thescribbleshow.com. You know, the season premiere of Big Brother is just a few days away, and everybody's buzzing about it. And it almost seems like just when the season ends, everybody's waiting for it to come back. So now that Big Brother Canada is on, you kind of get your fix in the spring, right? So you get to watch that show, then there's a month or two off, and then Big Brother's back with Chen Bot, and, well, you know the show. So, to salute Big Brother, because I'm really excited, one of my favorite summer shows, aside mocking The Bachelorette and The Bachelor Pad and all those other ones, is Big Brother. So I'm going to call in some big names today. You know what? Rachel Riley, we have her on our syndicated radio show every season. She's already sized up the competition. She's met them. She's interviewed a bunch of the house guests, and she's going to tell us who she thinks is the front runner, who's going to be out of there, and maybe even what some of the showmances will be. We're going to talk with Rachel coming up in just a minute or two. And then Dan Giesling, come on, it doesn't get any better than that either. He makes a living now out of telling people how they can be on reality shows. So we're going to talk with Dan coming up towards the end of the 30 minutes today. So don't go anywhere. If you're a Big Brother fan, this is the podcast to listen to, all right? So let's go to the celebrity phone for Rachel Riley.
Celeb spotting on The Scribble.
Everybody's buzzing about Big Brother this season, so of course we've got to check in with my favorite former house guest, veteran Rachel Riley, joining us on the show. Hello again, Rachel.
Hey. Yay, I'm so excited to be joining you guys on the show today.
Well, you know what? I love it because, you know, I tweeted like an hour ago asking for questions, and we've got a bunch, and hopefully we're going to get through most of them. But how excited are you for this season of Big Brother? Come on.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I think that the cast just looks so fun. And I love that there's two people we don't know about. You know, everyone gets all like, we don't want house guests back unless it's all-stars, but this could be really interesting to see people playing a totally different game because it's totally different people.
For sure. So, obviously, then, you've been checking out, like, their bios, you've been researching them online. Can you size up the competition from what you know about them so far?
Yeah, so I actually got to interview them on Saturday. I got in there, and I interviewed all the new house guests. It was really fun. You can catch those interviews on youtube.com/The Reality Channel 1. And they're all up there. But, yeah, I love them. I think it's a really a unique cast, which I think is really exciting because I can't wait to see how they're going to play. You know, when I just read the bios before I interviewed them, I was like, okay, this is for like a strong female season where the strong girls will all band together. But then after doing interviews, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think we're going to see a lot of like very strategic gameplay, but in a different way because we have like poker dealers, poker players. We have Austin, who's like a super fan. Jason and Steve, who are super fans. I think it's going to be really exciting. And then we have the competition girls who, Audrey said she wants to be a competition girl. Like, Liz has said competition girl. Vanessa's competition girl. So I think that they're either all going to be, like, mesh really well and be best friends, or it could totally crash and burn because the dominant personalities might go after each other.
Okay, so obviously then, you've gone through this whole process. You were sizing them up, don't lie. So who do you think is going to do really well? If you could just pick one front runner so far, even though things haven't really got underway yet, who would you pick?
I think, well, because I didn't get to interview Audrey, so I don't know. But I think with the 13 I interviewed, for sure Clay, because he's so charming and nice, and I think that he's going to have a showman with Becky, and that could put a target on his back. But I think he's so charming that people will, like, want to keep him around. Another one, I think that Steve will stay because he's really smart. His brain is like a computer. And the way that he processes information is amazing. It's just fun to watch. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see him because he might not have as strong of a social game, but I think we're going to see, like, he's going to really be able to relate to all these different personalities really well.
Who's going to be the troublemaker?
I think Liz. She is feisty. She's a firecracker. She'll for sure be the troublemaker. I think, it's funny. I actually think that there's a chance that James might be a troublemaker too.
Okay. Who do you think who do you think is going to be the first one out? Like, who doesn't even stand a chance?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I like them all, but I definitely think that John is super intense, and he's a dentist, and he's going in there saying, I'm a dentist. So people are going to assume he's smart, and he's intense, so it could rub people the wrong way. I think he's at risk. The other person who I just absolutely love, Jason, is so cute. I feel like he is at risk for going home first only because he's so big. Like, his personality is so big, and he's so cute. He's all over the place, and sassy, and feisty, and I feel like he's either going to get along great with Liz, or he's going to clash with her, and Devon. But I think that those are the two. Basically, John and Jason, I might do pick. Unless, for some reason, Austin could be a target only because Austin's so big that they might go after a physical guy first.
Right. You mentioned the dentist thing, and that's something that I think is kind of interesting because every season we see somebody come in, and in the diary room, they always say, well, I'm not going to tell them that I'm a doctor, that I'm a teacher, that I'm a cop, or whatever it is. And then, like, they only last a few weeks, and then they open up to somebody. Is that, like, tell me about people's strategies. You've gone through the house. You know the process. Like, what advice would you give somebody? Tell them, just be honest about who you are, lie because you can't keep it up, and then all of a sudden you look like you're a liar and you're sketchy at that point, and people don't trust you then.
Right, that's what I feel like. I feel like it's better to go in and be honest with people off the bat because this is the thing. Unless you're my sister, who I told her to go in and be honest.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, that's a case where she just looks like me. Everyone knew. But when you're just like a doctor, nobody really knows what you are. You know, they thought for the whole season that Donnie was like a special agent or something. So I think that it's better to go in, be honest, and tell people who you are so you don't seem sketchy. And then also, I feel like there's nothing to hide if you are that person. Use it to your advantage, you know?
Right.
Talk about how you spend so much time in dental school that you're totally not physical, you know, and that there's no way you'll win because nobody's going to vote for a dentist in the end. You know, you can use it to your advantage. And that way people don't think you're a huge threat. And, you know, you could totally stay in the house that way. And then, yeah, I think that's the best advice I could give someone.
So this question was sent in. Is it better to come in quietly and gradually let your personality out, or just be yourself, loud and aggressive right from the start?
I think you could be an actor and, you know, go in kind of timid and then, like, bloom, or if you're blooming with America, you know, that kind of thing. But if you're, like, I think it comes off, like, very producey, like when you go in and you're, like, you know, you go in and you're like, hey, you know, I'm not really showing them my real personality because I want to lay low, or I do that competition. Then it's like, okay, you know, that's been done. So I think it's best to go in, be yourself, you know, be yourself, admit who you are, don't lie to the house guests. That way you can play like a really strong social game and you don't have to worry about winning every competition. You won't actually even get stressed out.
But what about even just coming in quietly those first couple days and just observing, right? Like not being very outspoken and just sort of sizing up everybody, you know, and processing everything in your mind.
Yeah, I think that's for sure a good idea.
Probably easier said than done, though.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think if you can go into the house, just kind of observe and kind of see how you're going to fit into everything, and then just be very, like, you know, one layer the first maybe 3 weeks. I think that that's okay, and I think that could be a smart game move. because in the end, you're playing Big Brother. You're not actually, you're not there to make your best friend.
Right. Or you could be there to meet your life partner, though, right?
You totally could. Meet your little Brendan and become Grenfell.
No, you know what? Let's talk about that because you're pretty much like referenced on every season now. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Isn't that kind of weird when you're just sitting at home watching it and you're like, oh, that's my name. Hey, that's me.
It's so fun. It's such an honor because it's funny. The other day, when we were doing the interview, Steve came in. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I was so excited about the Ryan and Rachel interviews. I told them how bad I wanted to do the interviews and how fun they were and how cool they looked." And that was like really cool because I felt like it's fun to have people appreciate, who you are. That I guess it kind of like, it's such a big part of my life. My whole family was on the show, and my husband and I met and won, and it's such a huge part of my life that it's such an honor to be recognized, for Rachel's seasons, I guess.
Okay, so another question sent in here. Do they give you more clothes as the season goes on? Because it looks like people come in with just a gym bag, but yet they've got a whole summer's worth of clothing.
Okay, so when we go in with our gym bag, that's just the bag that we go in for moving day. We actually get a huge suitcase, like as big as, I'm talking the size of a garage if you can get it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If you can get one suitcase on an airplane, you can bring that big thing. Sometimes you have a competition where you have to dress up in a 50s dress, and then people wear that because it's fun.
Right, okay. David asked, is there a set wake-up time, or can you sleep as long as you want?
There's for sure a set wake-up time. Every day the producers play, well, I guess not producers, sorry, Big Brother plays music so that the house guests can wake up. I think it's around 9 a.m. because, it's live and who wants to watch everybody just sleeping all night,
Right.
So I think around 9 a.m. But, nobody goes to bed till 4 or 5 in the morning.
Right. Yes, exactly. John asked, do the producers ask questions in the diary room just to piss you off and get you fired up for a rant?
No, they definitely don't. The producers actually don't really ask questions. They kind of just say, what happened and tell us about how you feel. And at this point, I think they kind of explain to people, you're upset, go in the diary room and talk about it. It's like therapy, So I think you end up just going in the diary room and just sitting down and you're like, I am so mad right now. Screaming.
What is it with people that all of a sudden only yell in there? You've seen those people that just raise their voice when they're talking there, and they're not even necessarily mad. I don't get it.
Oh my god, I did that so bad my first season. You get this thing in your head where you associate more energy with talking louder. So they say, give us more energy. What they mean is just hey, a little more energy. But then you end up just being hey, and screaming in the diary room.
Hey, let's jump to Big Brother Canada for a second. Did you watch the last season?
Of course, I love Sarah. I'm so excited she won.
Okay, so let's talk about this, though, because there's people that are saying that Big Brother Canada has more twists and turns and more, crazy, wild fun than the American version. I mean, their house has moving parts with, the vault and trap doors in the floor and, everything. What do you think of the twists on that version compared to the U.S. one?
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's kind of cool because I like watching both versions, so it's kind of fun for me to see the Canadian version and then to see how the U.S. version is done, and the UK version is totally different, too.
Right.
I love all the twists and turns on Big Brother Canada, and I think one of my favorite things is that when they just go in the vault, who had the vault in the middle of their living room, But then again, they did just build that house, 2 years ago, so
right.
It's a lot more technologically advanced than from 2000.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. When they're trapped in the vault and they couldn't come out until they agreed, and I'm just like, well, are they just going to go piss in the corner? How did what?
Exactly. I mean, that's why I think it's just so funny that Big Brother Canada has the best twist. I love that series.
Yeah, I think it's funny because when there's Canadian versions of a show of the American version, it's a knockoff and it's low budget, and I think the production value of the show is incredible for a Canadian edition of it. It's really good. And you've actually been there too, right?
Yeah, I've been there, and the production value is incredible. It's, it's amazing. I think they really put a lot of money into it. It moved from, slice to global, so I think that definitely gave it a higher budget, but it also gave the opportunity to really have that quality production value,
Yeah. So who was your favorite then from last season? Was it Sarah?
Yeah, I love Sarah. I love Brittany, obviously. I feel like I really liked all of the cast last year. I would have liked to see Cindy with an S play because she was good at competitions. But it was fun to see Sarah and Brittany.
If you could team up with them as like an all-star duo from anybody from the Canadian seasons, who would it be?
Ooh, Canadian. Oh, well, obviously, Emmett and Jillian. Maybe just Jillian, maybe not Emmett. No offense, Emmett. For sure, Gary. Sarah, because she's awesome.
Yeah.
How many people are in my alliance?
Oh, you're talking Gary Glitter, right? That's...
Yeah, Gary
okay,
Glitter.
right.
He's so fun.
Yeah.
So...
Okay, yeah, so...
I feel like that's a pretty strong alliance, those 4 people.
Well, for sure.
And then, maybe I would want to have Peter in my alliance, but I wouldn't trust him because he's so smart. So I would want him in my alliance because I would want to strategize with him.
Yeah. What do you think about people making alliances so early on? Because you always see that too, right? On night 1, somebody goes off into a side room and is like, oh yeah, we've got this connection. Just from the moment I looked in your eyes. Why does that happen? Why do people do that? Is that a stupid move?
I don't think it's a stupid move. I feel like you kind of don't know who you're going to align with for Final 2, especially. Well, listen, the people that go in there and say Final 2, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But you kind of don't know if, for some reason, you go in and someone approaches you and it's like Final 2, you might be able to trust them because they might be, like, legit, So
yeah.
You can always trust a person like that, but, like, don't really count on them until they prove it the rest of the season.
Sandra asked a question here. Do you remember what your first thought or memory of Brendan was?
Oh, yes. So, when Brendan first walked in the house in Big Brother 12, I was like, he's just one of those ditzy surfer guys that's going to just, try to act all, like, suave and be one of those guys that is, like, so charming. And I was like, I'm not impressed.
And then, wouldn't you know it?
Yeah, exactly. And then, then the rest of the story goes, in the hammock, when he told me he was a physicist, I, don't know what it was, but my heart dropped. I ran to the diary room and said, oh my God, you guys do not understand. Like, I just met the love of my life. And they're like, no, stop it. It's like, tell us you have a crush on him. No, he's cute. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I think I just fell in love.
Wow. So then we naturally lead into this question from Karen. Are there babies on the way for you guys?
There are babies on the way. I'm not pregnant yet, but we're trying. So I feel like, hey, it could happen any day now.
Well, half the fun is trying, they say, right?
That is true.
So other than, keeping everybody in the loop of Big Brother, what else do you have on the go? Because I know you're very, very busy.
Yeah, so the Big Brother premiere the 24th, 25th, and 26th is going to be in Hoboken, New Jersey at the Wild Wolf, and everyone is invited. It's at the Wild Wolf, and so tickets are on sale at BigBrotherGroup.com, or there will be extra tickets at the door if you just decide you want to come that day. The reality channel is up. We're going to be back at it. Brendan and I are working on a super awesome project, and I have some other projects that have been announced and that we're just waiting to be released. So I'm just trying to make this business my life. I love it, so I want to keep doing that.
For sure. Now, of course, you're all over social media, so how can people stay in touch with you?
Yeah, follow me on Periscope at Rachel E. Riley. I Periscope every single day, and it's my favorite thing because I get to just talk directly to people, and you don't have to, make a video and put it on YouTube. You can just talk right then, and if something's happening, you can just Periscope into it, and it's kind of cool. You can go into everyone's, individual world. It's like the Big Brother house.
Well, sounds exciting. So you're very busy, and maybe we'll check in with you again later in the season. But we're out of time. Rachel Riley, always wonderful chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Yay! Thank you guys. Have a great one.
Thanks, you too.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom41.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 41.com. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom41.com.
Celeb spotting on the Scribble.
We continue our preview of Big Brother, and now we've got the guy who coaches and mentors and really tells people the right way to play the game. Big Brother vet Dan Giesling joins us on the line now. Hey, Dan.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I don't know that there's a right way to play the game. I think there's a few different styles, but yeah, I try to help people play the game, or I encourage people to play the game.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll talk.
Most entertaining and the way it's meant to be played, but I wouldn't say that it's the right way.
Well, I mean, winning is the right way. So there's different ways that you can win because, you know, we just had Rachel Riley on and, you know, she's interviewed the house guests and given her take on who she thinks will be the front runners. But as an armchair critic like the rest of us, what are you looking for in the contestants that first night when they run into the house? Like, what are the critical moves or words that could make or break them right in the first moment?
Yeah, it's always really telling, you know, in the first episode, what we get to see in terms of not the people running around, running their mouths and saying how great they are and all the things they've accomplished and how they're going to all be best friends. I'm more looking for the person who's talking, but more so listening more than, you know, telling their life story, asking people questions as opposed to making statements about themselves, because that tells me whoever's doing that right away is very in tune to the game from the second they walk in.
So what about that when people come in and they lie about who they are and what their profession is, and then all of a sudden they just can't take it anymore, and weeks later they tell what their story really is? I mean, they sort of look shady at that point then.
Yeah, it's a huge loss of credibility when you're playing a game like that, because, you know, every day, every hour, every minute, it's your job to build credibility and build connections. And so if, you know, say a month into it, you know, essentially you're saying, well, everything that we've been building our relationship on is a lie, then all of a sudden, you know, it's either going to go one of two ways. Depending on how close you are with that person, it may not be an issue, which is rare, but, you know, or it goes the other way, which it's a big enough reason or any sort of reason to get rid of you just for lying about an occupation. So I think once you go in there and you make that decision, there's no turning back from that.
You mentioned relationships. How important are alliances in the game? And is it even possible to go through an entire season without even forming some sort of alliance? I mean, some people say, well, I have no alliances, but, I mean, they kind of all do.
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. I think the only asterisk on that is people who float essentially don't really have an alliance. They're just kind of hanging out in the game, not really doing much.
Right.
But in terms of, there's no way to win that game by yourself. In my opinion, to be successful, you know, you have to find one person and put 100% of your trust in that person. And it's kind of like gambling. You know, you can hedge your bets, you can do your research, but at the end of the day, you know, if you live and die by that decision, you know, I feel like that's the best way to have success. And if you gamble right and you pick someone that, you know, puts the same amount of trust in you and vice versa, then you're going to do fine. If you pick the wrong person, you know, then you'll find yourself out fairly quickly.
You know, this question was sent in from Brian, which I think you might have already answered. What's a safe number of alliances to have? Should people stick with one, or the more the chances of being on everyone's side? What would you suggest?
No, I think you know, that's such a, I don't want to say arbitrary question, but it's such a circumstantial question. You know, you can be part of an alliance and then part of a smaller alliance within the alliance, but I think the more relationships you have, the better. The more alliance you have isn't necessarily better for you, because those are more tracks. You're going to have to cover more lives. You're going to have to tell them, and also make sure that people don't compare notes. So I wouldn't, I'd say the more relationships you have, the better, but not necessarily the same goes for more alliances.
What should people base an alliance on? Like, when we see it like, hey, we made eye contact first, so we're friends till the end. That doesn't really work. So what would make the best alliance partner? Is it personality? Is it gameplay? How they do in competitions? Like, what would you suggest if you're looking for an alliance partner?
Yeah, no, I think it has very little to do with personality. Very little. If you look at successful alliances, I think what it has to do with is a mutual self-preservation. You know that whoever you're teaming up with, it's in their best interest to keep you around and vice versa. And I think that's a great, in that game, that's a great foundation to build an alliance upon. And when you realize that your paths align for whatever reason, that you may both be threats, that, the other person may bring something to the table that you don't, so you need that person to move forward, or that other person has a connection with someone that doesn't like you that you may, need at some point. So I think the big thing is that there's a mutual self-preservation, that you need each other to survive in the game. I think that's a very strong thing, and then everything else is kind of secondary.
Watching over the years, there's got to be one or even a couple of mistakes that you see people make time and time again, and you think to yourself, why won't you learn? What can you tell people? So for next season, if people are wanting to go on the show next season, what would you suggest they do or don't do?
Oh, you're talking about people in casting or people playing the game?
People playing the game.
Okay, people playing the game, you'll see it in the first 2 weeks. You'll see someone have a complete meltdown over something, environmental or manufactured that's completely insignificant, something like food or a bed or something like that. Someone will lose $500,000 because of something extremely, extremely trivial. It'll always happen. It'll happen in this season, and so it's just, I think a lot of people get there and they get overwhelmed, and it's definitely not normal, but I think the people that realize what they're really there for, which, the people are there for $500,000, or they should be. And as long as people keep that in mind, then you'll be surprised what you'd be willing to deal with. Whether it's, no food or poor sleeping conditions. But I think a lot of people, their natural inclinations and instincts kick in instead of really having to combat what your natural instincts are within the game.
Let's talk about what you have on the go now. I know you're in the world of podcasting now, right?
Yeah, so what I've done is, I wrote a guide and created an online course to help people to get cast on reality TV, which, oddly enough, when I get a chance, what I do is I'll type in the people's names in who made this season. I'll type in my email, same thing with Survivor. And it's to the point now where it's funny to me, because at some point since I started doing this, I've had either some interaction or at least one person on each cast has bought the guide, or we've emailed or talked. And so for me, it's just what it's turned into with the podcast. I do one podcast a week as released every Monday, where I use the term normal people send me questions asking for help on how to get cast on reality TV, and I answer them. So it's a really fun format, and it's cool to connect with the audience that way and give them tips and help in terms of guiding their casting story to give themselves the best possible chance to get on the show.
So we've got to plug the link and the location. Where can people get it?
You can find out everything about the podcast at howtogetonrealitytv.net.
All right, we'll check it out. Big Brother veteran Dan Giesling, thanks so much for joining us again today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
That's right, Larson. So follow The Scribble at The Scribble Show. And again, thanks for tuning in on thescribbleshow.com, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Hey, you know what, though? Speaking of Big Brother, I'm going to be live tweeting all season, so I hope you'll follow me. My own Twitter is at SFCelebWatch. That's at SFCelebWatch, and we're going to have some fun tweeting Big Brother this season. My name is Jeremy Bradley. I will talk to you next time on The Scribble. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat